There's an anxious week ahead for children as they wait to see what's under the Christmas tree. An anxious week also for the Hornby Toy Company. They of course make the famous toy train set and Scalextric's cars, fondly remembered by many fathers as the highlight of the Christmases of their youth. But their offspring are keener on computer toys and TV spin-offs. Hornby's new chief executive, however, has decided to stake all on the company's traditional products. But will he succeed in creating avid young train spotters, or will Hornby end up selling just to the adult enthusiast? Nils Blythe has been finding out.
What do you want for Christmas?
Super Nintendo.
And you?
Sony PlayStation.
What about you?
Pool table.
I just want PlayStation. The Super Nintendo.
What about a train set? Would you be
I don't like them.
Why not?
I don't know, I just don't like them that much. You get fed up. Just watching it go round and round in little circles.
Train sets used to be what schoolboys yearned for. And the train maker, many of us remember, Hornby Hobbies, has gone on producing them down the years. But the toy market has moved on. Sales of train sets have fallen since the model railway heyday of the 60s and 70s, and it's meant difficult decisions for Hornby about whether to try and develop other types of toy. What they've finally decided is that their future still lies with the toys they're famous for, model railways and cars. The man taking Hornby back to its roots is its new chief executive, Peter Newey. He may have snow on his boots, but he's no Santa Claus, more a hard-headed businessman sensing an opportunity. But getting Hornby back on the rails means sticking to what they know. Peter Newey took me to see some of the other toys they've tried and failed with, still selling in the factory shop.
Now in here we've got a load of products that we've frankly discontinued, including pound puppies, for instance, there. But in fact most of these are all what we term soft toys.
Baby werebears.
Indeed.
Snoozers.
Yep. And
This is what they call
the-
fashion toys. They're
very
in
much
fashion one
yes.
year, out of
And
fashion the next.
Out of fashion the next, yes.
The trouble was, some of Hornby's would-be fashion toys never came into fashion in the first place.
That's just not, doesn't go with the trains and the cars.
Not obviously similar.
It certainly doesn't.
And according to Newey, fashion toys just weren't what Hornby was good at.
There wasn't the mentality within the company to cope with the high pressure that comes from trying to think of the next new product.
What Hornby does know about, though, is making trains and cars. They've been doing it in their Margate factory for over 40 years, with much of the work still finished by hand. The Hornby name is even older than the factory. It dates back to 1920, when a man called Frank Hornby started making clockwork trains. It's a tradition of toy making that Peter Newey wants to make the most of.
There's a great sense of history for the brand and what the company stood for over the years. And it has, within its history, within its brands, within the product that's manufactured over those 30 to 40 years, it has a tremendous untapped resource. It has a latent potential that hasn't really been exploited in the past, in the recent past, and it gives us the opportunities to exploit that in the future.
But toy retailers may take some convincing. David Fogel has built up a chain of toy shops over 20 years, but he's now stopped selling Hornby altogether.
The children aren't terribly interested in model locomotives, steam trains. It doesn't really have the sort of play value that they want. There are so many more sophisticated toys around where really the suppliers have perhaps made them more sophisticated through their research and development, have made them more exciting with more play value.
Hornby have been thinking about play value, and the latest thing their managers have come up with is plastic mats, which show children where to put their track and stations.
The track mat, that's 6x4 plastic sheet, as you can see there, giving a bird's eye view of a complete layout. Now, that is going to appear in all our new sets next year.
This might seem a rather modest idea, but managers also have their eye on another market. Mark Coleman has been adding to his layout every year for over 30 years.
Christmas wouldn't be Christmas to me without a model railway, a model train. I know by the packaging, and if I see that under the tree or at the end of the bed, then I know it's going to be a good Christmas. It's just, I suppose, it's a form of fantasy. You're just getting out of normal everyday life and just going off on the journeys you want to do. You know, you're driving that train, and you're the driver. Even though it's going around in circles, you just, you know, you're going from London to Edinburgh and back, or in about an hour.
Mark Coleman's love of model railways has now rubbed off on his two sons. And with Mark prepared to spend £500 a year on his hobby, adult collectors are an enticing market for Hornby.
90.
It's a much more mature market. The customers there are middle-aged people in the main. It's not a teenage market, it's people in their 30s plus. They are not as constrained by cash, it's a less price-sensitive market. It's one that will pay for quality, and that is what this factory is particularly good at, producing a high-quality product.
So in terms of Christmas lists, you don't just want to be on the children's Christmas lists, you want to be on the grown-ups.
Very much like to be on the parents' list as well, yes. But the editor of World Toy News, John Salisbury, remains sceptical. Trains certainly aren't on his Christmas list, or his 8-year-old son's either.
I think it would take something of a minor miracle to revive interest in trains in this country. Trains aren't the language of today's children. Children don't go on trains enough, they don't have enough experience, and neither do their fathers get so excited about them come Christmas time that they must have them on their Christmas list as well. But unfortunately, railways could be trapped in a bit of a time warp if they alone are the only products that Hornby have.
But trains aren't the only product at Hornby. While they try to revive them, they're also busy defending their other famous brand, Scalextric cars. Scalextric is a toy that many people my age still remember from our own childhood. But unlike model railways, it's one which many of today's children are still pestering their parents to buy. The problem for Hornby is that where once Scalextric had the market to itself, it now faces stiff competition. And its critics say the company has been slow to meet that challenge. The challenge has come in the form of small-scale racing sets launched by rivals from America and Japan. Hornby responded with its own micro Scalextric. But some retailers reckon Hornby started behind and has yet to catch up.
Okay, this is made by Tomy. It's an Aora racing set, and as you can see, it just has a lot more exciting play value to it. You have loops, you have crossovers, and I think it just represents better value for money.
The pressure to provide value for money is being felt acutely at Hornby. Some of their trains and cars are already produced in the Far East because it's cheaper. Peter Newey makes no secret that the traditional production methods used in the Margate factory are going to be changed before very long.
Well, for a company of Hornby's size, the cost base here is really out of proportion to what it ought to be, and we have to attack that cost base, and we have to do that by looking at how we're going to manufacture the product in the future.
Does that mean increasingly manufacturing overseas? You've already started doing that.
Well, it may do, but I think also we've got to look at the production processes themselves. We have to invest in the technology, and given the fact that we're coming from some way back as far as that's concerned, there are certain things that may have to be outsourced as opposed to done in-house.
The irony that some Hornby models are already made abroad has not been lost on collectors.
In my opinion, they could do better. The new Class 92 they brought out was made in China. It just seems a shame that they've got to go to China to get it moulded. And it takes the edge off it a bit, not being truly British.
But the drive to cut costs is just as much part of Peter Newey's plan as getting back to the core business. It's a long-term strategy some observers are still not convinced by.
I think in 10 years' time, Hornby Railways and Scalextric will probably still be around, not necessarily in the same format. Hopefully they'll be speaking to children in their language by then. But it will be a market that is nevertheless diminishing. I can't see the halting decline for railways anywhere on the horizon. Cars, though, may have a pickup, but I doubt very much if the two brands in question, both of which are very viable, will be actually owned by the same people.
Well, I still believe that fathers and sons will be playing with the product in the future as they've been doing in the past. I hope that we've been successful in expanding the market for the enthusiasts and developing the market for the collector even more so than we have done in the past.